And then the final phase, anybody at this phase? Curious? Tony, you there? You're close. Right on it? Yeah. So phase 3, 100 to 150. You're doing over 30K, and we're trying to get you to 45. That's what I'm trying to get to for most brick and mortar training gyms, is 45K a month. We have plenty that are doing more than that, but again, I would say for most of them, it's like they got there because they had to, because of a lower arm or because of a bigger facility that they took on than they really needed, right? Mistakes that they are kind of, to be fair, hard to unwind, right? But we can make a really profitable gym by getting it to 45K a month. So that's the ultimate goal at this phase, is to push from 30 to 45. Now, I would love to say that there is one fancy thing or two fancy things like there were in the first phases, but I believe this phase, that like I watched the folks that are in this phase between 30 and 35 and 40 and 45, and there is no magic. Like not to say that phase 1 and phase 2 had magic, but they're like things that if you're not doing them, you're not going to grow. Here, you already are doing the things. You wouldn't have got to 30K. It is just simply the consistency and the volume. So an example. So in our grand opening, so our new location's opening up at the end of this month, and we're doing grand opening. So we're running ads, we're doing local community presence, etc. And one of the things we're doing is which is a strategy I teach all of our gyms to do, which is to create a little gift basket. Just go to Target, buy those little gift baskets, throw a bunch of goodies in them, put a bunch of trial passes in the middle, and just go play Santa. And just literally put a bunch of them in the back of your car, drive around town, pick a business, drop in, say, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm so-and-so. This is what I do. Just wanted to drop this off for your team. And walk out the door. And again, I don't know if y'all do that, but even if we do it, we do like, my standard in Project 500 is 3 a month. And I'm going to guess right now, maybe 25% of them do 3 a month. So on grand opening this month, or it was technically last month, Josh went up to Costco and bought 48 gift baskets. And in one day handed out 48 gift baskets. And it took him like an afternoon. So when we talk about standard and volume and we're like, it didn't work because I got one basket out, I'm like, yeah, and we got 48 and maybe 1 or 2 people came from that gift basket. I don't know. But they also maybe saw my Facebook ad. They also maybe saw us at the networking event that we're going to. Like, that's how we get them. So the volume at this phase just becomes, it's not anything more. I would love to say that there's something that you're doing here, assuming you're doing what's in phase 1 and phase 2, I would love to say that there's something that new that you need to do, because that feels satisfying to hear, like there's this new thing that I'm not doing. But the reality is you go from spending $1,000 a month in phase 2 to $1,500 a month because you have the budget. You go from spending $20 a day to $40 a day. You go from doing 1 or 2 fish bowls to 10 fish bowls. You go from sending 1 offer a month to 1 offer a week. That's it. That's all it is. And granted, you should, if you staff right, have the bandwidth to do that. Like, I'm very aware that there is, I hate to use the word privilege because I think we earn that privilege, but there's a privilege with Josh being able to buy 48 baskets and walk around for an afternoon with 48 baskets. There's time and money that was associated with that. But that's what it takes to go from 30 to 45. Okay? So marketing is no different. I don't think it's like phase 1 to phase 2 was you go from the 1 hour a day to a full marketing plan. This phase is marketing plan more. Don't add more strategies, do the higher volume of what you're already doing. Okay? From a staffing perspective here, at this phase, you should have at least 1, if not 2 full-timers. I think it's really important. You can get away with part-time staff in phase 1 and phase 2, totally. But at phase 3, you really need like at least 1, ideally 2 core full-time people. And the reason is simply just culture and delegation. It's really hard to delegate things to part-timers aside from just showing up and training. It's, I would argue, sometimes unrealistic and unfair because they're part-time for a reason. But full-timers, like, this is what they do. This is all they do. And granted, you don't have the ability to necessarily do that until you're at this phase. But when you are at this phase, I would work hard on consolidating over time, case study time. We have a husband and wife own a gym, Columbus, Ohio. They'll do $70,000+ this month. When I first started working with them, they had 7, 8, 9 trainers, and they were doing like $40K a month. They now have 3 and a part-timer. So we cut the staff in half and almost doubled the revenue. And it's just because now they can go all in on those 3 full-timers and build culture around them. And maybe not just them as people, right? Yes, but the staff structure of that. Less people to manage, less people to check in with, etc. So at this phase, I would, again, not yet if you're not there, but I would work on either elevating your part-timers up, or as harsh as it is, pushing them out and bringing a full-timer in, just because you want somebody there that they don't necessarily need to have a fancy title, they don't need to have fancy roles, they just need to be in the building a lot. And naturally, they will become a leader outside of you, because that is the goal here, is that you are not the only authority at this phase. You are still an authority, like you are still very much an active owner, but you have kind of co-authority with the full-timers, right? So that's my staffing goal at this phase. And then I'm really focused at this phase on the team. So at this point, your marketing plan's dialed in, your volume's dialed in. I'm really focused on the team. So I'm making sure that I implement things like the 515 meeting. 515 meeting is a Google form that they fill out on Friday with 5 questions, and then we review it for 15 minutes every Monday morning. And it's just a weekly check every week. Friday form, Monday check. Friday form, Monday check. 52 weeks a year, except for maybe the 2 weeks they go on vacation. But every Friday they fill out the form, we check in with them on Monday. That stuff gets built out at this phase. Things like making sure we have, what I call the academy, which is like your internal training for your team. So not just session standards, but do we have a consistent way that we program? Do we have a consistent system for how we coach or progress or regress certain exercises? Not saying that's not important in the earlier phases, but I think you can get away with that in the earlier phases, and it's not a priority. So phase 3 is really about the volume of marketing and then building out that team so that they are actually hitting the standard and want to be there, want to deliver, etc. So again, hopefully I'll wrap up here, but hopefully this was helpful. Again, I would go back to phase 1. I'll share the doc. I would go back to phase 1 and make sure that there's nothing in phase 1 that you don't have, and just start there. Like, I don't want to make this overwhelming. I would literally look at phase 1 and be like, what do I not have that's here? And let's focus over the next month or 2 building that out. And then once I have all those built out and they're working, then I can go on to phase 2. Cool? Questions?
Making that transition to a person becoming full-time, what are maybe the top 2 or 3 key areas of the business that you might say, hey, you're going to really take ownership of that off of my plate? Do you have any?
If they're full-time coach? Full-time coach. Yep. So first thing is making sure they're maxed out in coaching. So full-time coaches should be doing about 25 to 30 hours a week of coaching. So 3/4 of their week should be coaching. It's very inefficient in this business to have a full-timer that's coaching less than that. And the reason being is, I know it feels like a lot, but there's not that much to this business outside of training. It feels like that in your head, but operationally, it's like follow up with leads and shout out clients. Like it simplified to that. I know it feels like more, but that's pretty much it. And so I only want them coaching 3/4 of the time. The question, I talk about like the magic 10. There's these 10 hours for full-timers. They're like, what do I do with them? Right? So they're coaching 25 to 30 hours a week. What do I do with these other 10 hours to make it worth it to be full-time? I'm assuming 40 hours, right? So there's a couple things, and I would say this is largely going to be based upon things that you are not good at or don't like doing, and then things that they are good at and like doing. So there's a framework I like called GWC, and it stands for get it, want it, capacity to do it. So when I'm delegating something, do they get it? Do they understand conceptually what I'm trying to have them do? Do they actually want to do it? Because as much as there's certainly aspects of suck it up, it's your job, do it, that's going to be a hard hill to climb if that's always the case. So I want to make sure want it is there. And then capacity is, do they have the hours, the bandwidth, et cetera, to take it on? So that would be step one. As far as specific strategies or specific tactics that they do during those 10 hours, I would say the bulk of it revolves around programming, which is about an hour or two a month, should be for most gyms. And then the, let's call it the client recognition, accountability reach outs, the P-Pro, like the stuff I was talking about with the other 165, they can usually kind of own that and make sure that everybody's getting their reach outs, make sure everybody's getting recognized, programming's done, all of that stuff. And then that usually takes collectively, call it 3 to 5 hours. You probably have another hour or two of cleaning. I'm a big fan of, by the way, there's a stat from IRSA that the number 3 reason why people leave a gym is it's dirty. And some of you, your gyms are very dirty. I see them on like clutter. I don't mean necessarily, sometimes dirt, but like it needs to look pretty nowadays. I hate to break it to you, but like Orange Theory is very pretty looking, whether you disagree with it or not. It's very pretty looking. And the modern consumer wants good looking stuff. So our gym's got to look good, which means they got to be clean. So we have all of our staff have a weekly cleaning checklist just because I want them bought into that. Like it's not just doing the cleaning, it's that this is the number 3 reason why people leave a gym, especially women, is because it's dirty. And so the cleaning is a part of it, an hour a week. And then the remaining 2 hours is meetings. I didn't talk a lot about meetings, so I don't think they're relevant for a lot of people at this phase, but meetings are a big part of a team, a big part meaning like two hours a week, where 2 hours a week you're either meeting with them directly or as a team you're role playing and training and practicing together. Little side rant, I'm a clean freak, so little sorry if I go on a tangent about cleaning. So just for context, I jumped back in. I sold our first location and jumped back in about 2.5, 3 months ago, right? Bought back in as a minority. Josh is still majority, and then I'm majority on the new second location. So I can't technically call the shots at first location. That's Josh's. He's majority. But we're good friends and certainly respect each other's opinions. And I walked in for the first time in like 9 or 10 months to the gym, and the first thing I said to him, I said, "Josh, this place is fucking gross." And excuse my language, but I was like, it's not the equipment. This is like a total soapbox, but when you make your cleaning checklist, don't make it about like wiping the kettlebells and wiping the dumbbells. That stuff gets wiped by clients. What I'm talking about is like your dumbbell rack, behind it, there's like 6 months of cobwebs, right? Because there's not on your cleaning checklist to wipe your baseboards, right? So whether you hire out cleaning or not, brick and mortar training gyms, cleaning is a big thing, big thing. Probably not a cleaning question. Go ahead.
It's not. In phase 2, right on the border of phase 3, is there a benchmark or an average admin time? I've never had one.
Yep.
It's something that I've been negotiating with myself about, which is rare. Is there a benchmark time? Is it 5 to 10 hours a week? Is it 20 hours a week? I mean, as far as, updating your anomaly, getting people in the system, lead follow-up, social media, whatever you want to put on somebody that you don't want to keep on your own plate.
Yep. Okay, so let's break down the admin stuff, and we can break for lunch whenever. Tell me to stop talking. I could talk till 9 o'clock about this stuff. So let's break down. I have a whole training in IBA, by the way, called Optimizing Your Admin. You can review it. It's essentially going to say what I'm about to say, which is a full-time admin. So let's start with the end in mind. Full-time admins required at 150 clients. You don't need full-time till you have 150 people, because at that point you need somebody that's like, aside from the trainers, keeping the ship running, right? So let's reverse that down and say at 75 clients, you probably need about 15 to 20 hours of admin. Now, keep in mind, I'm totally cool using the one delineation I think you have to make when we say admin is, are we talking relationship tasks or like busy work? because there's a big difference. For example, McKenna is our admin at our Kennebunk location. We have 270 people, so we need a full-time admin. She is at the desk when you walk in, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Make sure everybody's greeted, make sure everybody's happy, checking in, high-fiving. She's just another touch point. She does the admin, the true admin stuff during the middle of the day when everybody's not there. That would be an example of relationship-based versus if they are, posting on social media, they are creating Canva graphics for you. That's what I would consider to be transactional, and that can be outside. So it's important to decide, and I think it's a choice. Like, we use VAs now. I'd never used a VA in my training gym, but I would probably, if we get to multiple locations like I want to, like for clarity, our initial goals, if this second one goes well, is to get to 10 in 3 years. If we get to 10, we'll have VAs, for sure. Because the things I'm going to need them to do is not in the physical location. So I think you're going to decide what are the things you want them to do, and is there a benefit of them being in person? Because that would decide, you can go find somebody in the Philippines for $7-8 an hour, and if they're just doing Canva, we have a guy that just signed up in Project 500. He's got a VA that sends all his emails for him and posts on social media. That's it. He just didn't want to worry about it, and that's what they do. They schedule all the emails, and it's probably a couple $100 a month. Versus kind of what I would call maybe more a relationship-focused admin that is there greeting people. But generally speaking, around 75 clients-ish is when you need that 10 to 20 hour a week. I'm broad stroke here with this statement, but not a fan of people in your facility less than 10 hours a week as a team member. And I want to work really hard, if you do have anybody that's less than that, to either get them out or elevate them up. And that's simply just to make your life easier. If I only see you 5 hours a week, 4 hours a week, none of my clients know you other than the clients you train. And I can't really train you. That's unfair for me to train you because you're only here 5 hours a week. So same thing with admin. Admin's going to require a lot more training. And so I want to be able to make sure I can give them at least 10. I think the sweet spot, we have a client right now, he's got the most non-traditional admin. For those of you that know David Drinks. David Drinks is in Harrisburg, PA. He's crushing it. And he hired this admin. He's like a retired 70-year-old guy that just wants to get out of the house 3 hours a day. And it's totally anti what you would think of as a traditional admin. But his lead follow-up, he's military, ex-military, and he's just relentless with his follow-up. And David is just loving life because he just comes in for 3 hours in the morning, crushes lead follow-up for 3 hours, and goes home. Makes $18 an hour. So that's the sweet spot, I think, is if you can find somebody with admin hours. I personally find it very valuable. Let's say you only have 10 or 15 hours to give them. I would personally, I know that's kind of a pipe dream there, but I would try to find somebody. I would much rather have a part-time admin there, smaller doses at higher frequency, than come in twice a week for 5 hours. That's not as helpful in the admin role. Admin roles is very much come in and help me for 2 or 3 hours, 4 days a week. You know what I mean?
Does that help? Yep. Cool.
So last time you spoke, you said that you would prefer having one person follow up with the leads.
Yes.
Again, what was the purpose of that, and who should that be, one of the trainers, or if we're currently in phase 3, is that something responsibility of?
Yeah. So lead follow-up, we'll separate lead follow-up from the sale. So for clarity, lead follow-up is from when I get your contact info to when you show up and actually meet and buy. So the show up, meet, and buy for most of you is owner or manager or whatever. Whoever's the highest person, whoever's the best at sales, which is usually the owner or manager, they do the actual sale. In phase 3, you can offload lead follow-up to somebody else. Usually it's the admin or a coach that has an interest in it. I would just go back to the GWC framework, because oftentimes I've seen gyms that a coach wants more hours but doesn't really like lead follow-up, isn't good at it, but you want to give them more hours, so you're here, do some lead follow-up, and they never become good at it. Generally it's an admin. If not, the manager, head coach can still do it because it's a very valuable task. As far as one person owning it, the reason is because, so let's use a case study example. We have, I think around 300-ish, 350 leads right now that we're following up with for our Scarborough location, our new location. Plus, on any given month, we have between 50 and 80 leads coming in for a Kennymunk location. So that's a shitload to follow up with. So right now we have Josh and Kenna and our head coach that we hired for the to run the new location, all doing lead follow-up, just to get calls in and follow up and, et cetera. So although that is efficient from a task standpoint, I know Josh's pain point is there's a ton of like, where's this lead at? Even though we have automatic members, even though it's all updated, there's still like, what's going on with that lead? What's, you know what I mean? What happened during that phone call? And so I think when you have one person that owns it at this, for most of us that are generating, average training gym, 30-ish leads a month is a really good month. So I can maintain 30 tight conversations in my brain, even though I have the systems built out to track them and all that stuff. I should know every given month, okay, here's my leads and here's where each one is at, roughly. I might need to revisit the conversation, but I should have a pulse of who's in my pipeline. As soon as I go into multiple people, now it's like, are they taking it? Am I taking it? It just becomes a bit of like you're on your heels now, and so it's typically not as effective.
So I was like level 1 probably 3 weeks ago, and I really.
And you joined Project 500. You went right to Facebook.
And it was supposed to be like, I give an example of my classes. My morning class for 6 months was like 6 people.
Yep.
The last week and a half was like 12 or 15.
Yep.
8:30 was like 5, 6. So probably it's 8. That was my biggest one. It's like 12, 15. My night class was like 10, and that was like 16. Really quick. So I'm like, and my coach was like, that everything you say is like, okay, I need to really sit down like a standard. So it's like, which one is like, all of them priority, but change is so quick because it wasn't all like, normally it's like, oh, one client, one member, and it's just like, bam, and the strategy between the fishbowl, I'm like, hey, bring your friend, and soon enough friends.
So you're getting essentially like a surge of new clients, and my concern, anytime I get a surge of clients, is always quality. So is that what you're asking? Is like what to focus on first?
This is partly, but it's been so quick. I'm like, okay, I definitely need to raise the standard with my coach. We need to get together this, and then sometimes like.
Do you have session standards?
Not.
So start there.
Specific.
Yeah, start with session standards. I mean, certainly. So Jonathan's, I think, a very relevant phase for a lot of people, where he's doing all the marketing, he's doing all the sales, he's doing all the lead follow-up, right? It's him, and then he's got, one part-time?
Yes.
One part-time that helps out, right? And so, but we've started implementing and to his credit, I don't think it's any new strategies. I think a light bulb went off and said, I have to be consistent with this stuff. And we've got a good growth trajectory going. But the mistake that I would want to avoid for you and for everybody that faces this is, so the gas pedal's down on marketing right now, right? Do not take the gas pedal off of marketing and move it over to session standards, because all of a sudden your pipeline will dry up, and 3 months from now we're back to where we started. So it's a bit of like a grind, for lack of better terms, where you keep your foot on the gas, and then anytime I'm not marketing, I'm working on session standards and session quality, because we certainly, especially for your model, he's group training, for those that don't know, large group, the quality has to be high, because if that's the only thing that's keeping them.